Hello, what's up guys, Sam Hartnell here, bringing you a brand new GFX series. Now, in this GFX series, I'll be hosting a couple tutorials for you guys. I'll be splitting this series into three series. Yep, 3 series. So we've got Basic, Advanced, and Expert. Now, the reason I've done this is because there's no point me going into something really complex. I want it more suitable for everyone, so everyone can follow along, and I'll be showing you as much as I can kind of fill you in on this. But at the moment, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from basic. When I mean by basic, I mean not how to use Photoshop. If you don't know how to use Photoshop, then I suggest looking for another tutorial on Photoshop and how to use it. But anyways, getting started with the tutorial. This tutorial will be covering color grading, which is also known as color correction. Now, color correction, what is color correction? Right, let me run through. Now, I've got an image here I got off the internet, just to kind of show you what I mean, so you can kind of follow on. Now, color correction, if you see the left panel here, right, so if you zoom in there, this is obviously a clip, right? It's a clips and photos. When it comes to color correction, they're very, very similar, you know what I mean? Because actual videos are made up by frames per second, and frames are actually images. So they're very similar, and they work in the same kind of way. So as you see here on the left panel, we have a woman. Looks like she's in a car. Yada yada. This is a raw image. Now, what a raw image is straight from wherever it's been recorded. So if it's a camera, it's been taken a picture from a camera, that's a raw image. Once you edit it, then it's no longer raw. So this is a raw image. It's quite white. It hasn't got much color to it, not much depth, but that can be changed. A lot of pictures do come out like this. If you've got a camera and you're doing photography, if you get a picture come out like this, not a problem. That's where the color correction comes into it, and you can change it. Now, one thing is really, really, really important when you're taking a picture, or when you grab a picture, right? The brighter the picture, the better. Now, what I mean by that is, if you look at this image now, it's bright, right? The work we need to do to this, the work that is needed to this image, as you can see, if I go to this image, which is the color corrected version, it's been darkened. Like a lot of the shadows and a lot of the highs, mids, and lows, they've been changed, right? And you can't, if you have a really dark image, you can't, when you brighten it up, you can't. It starts to get pixelated. It doesn't really work, right? And everyone's probably done it. You've taken a picture on your iPhone at a night out or at night, with your flash or without your flash, and it comes out very grainy. Now, what that is that's because it's tried to brighten up the image. Because it's so dark, it becomes out grainy, right? It gets pixelated. So, it's always best to have a bright image, right? Because you can make it darker. It's hard to make dark images lighter. So, yeah, cutting to the chase. This here on the right panel is a color corrected version. Now, more colors being added. That's basically I'll cover for it, but that's basically what color correction is. You're changing the colors, you're changing the shadows, the depth. So yeah, that's enough of that. But yeah. Now, let's head over to Photoshop. So we're doing Photoshop at the moment. I've just flicked through the internet. Literally just got a picture of Selena Gomez. I couldn't find any decent ones, so we're just going to go with her. Now, it seems to be a raw image. Well, we can work with it. Okay? So, here she is here. Alright? Now, I'm going to show you what we can do with this image. What we can do to make it better. What can we do to change it? Right? To color grade it, right? Right, there's no right or wrong with color grading. It's all down to your personal preference. It's all down to what how you want the image to come out. And But there are a few things which you kind of need to do. You know, whenever I open an image, there's certain things I do to every image. You do need to change because, you know, there are major things you need to change, and I'm going to run through those with you now. So I've got this image now. Now there's two ways you can do this. I could go on image adjustment, and you got all these here. These are the ones I use mainly, right? All the ones here. Now if I use one of these here, it applies it to the image, right? But it actually combines it with the image. So meaning, like, if you don't like it, you have to, you know, redo it and all that kind of stuff. So the best way to do it, right, is go over to layer, right, new adjustment layer, and then select what you want. Now what adjustment layer is, it's like a layer that goes on top of your image, right? So it's an actual separate layer, so you have more control over what you're doing. Okay, so those things I'm going to go with is curves, color curves. Now what curves does, it's hard to explain. Right, it comes up with a sort of a graph thingy here. Now the bottom here, this bit here, that represents the lows, right? The darkness, the dark areas of the image, and the top bit here represents the light bits of the image, right? So this is what I tend to do. You know, I'm not going to run for everything. This is what I tend to do, and I've always done this. You always kind of do this. Now, as you can see, if I bring the bottom bit down, see, it's making the dark parts of it darker, right? And if you look at the top bit, it controls the lights, so I can make the bright bits darker. So the higher I go, the brighter the bits it affects. The lower I go, the lower bits it affects. Yeah. Now what I tend to do is, you see this, you got a square here, right? You got a square right here. I tend to stick with this square, so I will literally lower this just literally below the square, and bring this up just a tad. Not too much, you don't want to overdo it. Just a little bit. It depends on your image, but that's what I'm going to go for now. Nope. There we go. You don't want major changes when you're working with the first couple of things on an image. You won't see a major difference. You know, you're just trying to stabilize the image. So as you can see, look, it's a small change, but it's better than it was. So that's color curves. Now that's usually the first thing I do. So color curves, very, very important. I use it quite a lot, and I'll definitely recommend using it. And the difference between using that and instead of using the brightness and contrast is you have more control over. You have more control over the image. Basically, it's roughly the same kind of thing, but you can control different parts of the image. You know, the lights and the darks. You can also use color curves for colors, but we're not going to go into. I'll go into that in a different tutorial. Next thing we're going to add. Set over to layer again. New adjustment layer. I'm going to add a gradient map. Right. Let's click OK. And now, as this pops up, you'll see that it turns black and white. That's usually the default, or it will turn different color. And if you double click in this box here, or not double click, we'll just click in this box here. Oops, it'll come up like this, right? Stick on black and white, all right. Now this color here, right? Double click on that. Now there's no right or wrong when it comes to this. It's all down to the image. Now, depending on what color you kind of want it, and kind of grading, should I say, you want your image. You can pick a colour, so if you want it sort of red. Now what that would do is that sort of gives it a red to her darks, and then the other bit would be to the lights. So I want to go with sort of like a bluey, I don't know, bluey purpley colour, right? But you got to make it very dark, right? I'm gonna make it quite dark. No, I mean something like oops. I think that will do, right? And then click on the white, which is the lights, and I'm gonna go for sort of what I tend to do when it's people. Now you want to give it sort of like a nice skin tone, so I kind of go for a skin tony colour, right? So not too yellow, not too orange. You want it, right, I'm not going to take too long on this, right, because it's tutorial purposes, but I'm going to go for something like there. Yeah, that'll do. Trim that a little bit. Okay. Right. Now, as you see, it hasn't done much. It's just literally put a weird colouring layer over it, and it doesn't look too nice. Now, this is where your blending modes come in. Now, as if you see your layers section, your layers panel, where your layers are, and you make sure you select your gradient map, and where it says normal, this menu will pop up. Now you can use the overlay, soft light, hard light. It all depends on what you know. It all depends on what you're trying to get out of the image. You know, hard light can come out quite well. See. Go for a nice. So right, I'm gonna select soft light for this sake. Right. Now come on like that. Now one thing I say as well, which not a lot of people do, is opacity. Now opacity is very, very, very important. Like I see so many people, they'll add effects, text, whatever you're doing in Photoshop, and it's all 100, 50, or 0. Now that's nice, but I like to use the whole scale. You know, you got 0 to 100. You know, what I mean, it doesn't stop at a 50 mark. It doesn't stop at 0 mark. It doesn't stop at 100. You know, and all images are different. So what I tend to do, right, is I'll start from 100 and I'll just slowly bring it down until you sort of find your spot. See what that looks like. I'm gonna drop it down to about 44. That will do. Drop it down to about 35. Right. So I've set my gradient and I've got mine on overlay at 36%. So that sort of gave it sort of a little bit of colour to our skin, whilst giving that sort of really slight hint of sort of a dark purpley bluey colour. You know, not a minor one, but it has made a difference. So if we look at it, you know, if we take all that off, it has made quite a difference. Okay, so another thing, head over to layer, adjustment layer again. Another one you can use as well is vibrance. Now, vibrance, you can change this up a little bit. I don't tend to use vibrance, to be honest with you. It's more like, to be honest with you, we'll leave that one and I'll explain that in another tutorial. Okay, layer, adjustment layer, exposure. Let's go for exposure. Right, exposure is a lovely one. I use this quite a lot actually. I think it looks quite good. Now, I don't really use, you know, exposure. What it does is that sort of gives the high colours that sort of boost. You know, it's a boost of highs. It's sort of like a glare boost. But I like, this was the bit I like, is the offset. Now what the offset does is, if I bring it up, it sort of gives it that sort of any darks in that image. So if you've got a very dark image, you know, black and white, very dark image, if you had a little bit of offset, not a lot, I usually don't really go past 50%, 0.0050. It's probably the highest to sort of go, you know, it sort of gives it like that. I'm going to add sort of a very faint 10.05. What's that, 10? Right. Not much of a difference. If you zoom in, you'll see just here, you'll see it's sort of giving it that sort of white sort of sheer, you know, that white sort of film over the image. which can actually look quite good, especially in like nightlife photography, night photography. It doesn't work with every image, but it works with majority images. It just depends on how much you put on it. But like I said, don't go over. I wouldn't suggest going over 0.050. So yeah. Now, quickly before I come to end this tutorial, I'm just going to quickly show you a few more things quickly if I can fit this in. Now, right. Let me just get this in. Now, let's say, for example, she's got quite a lot of makeup on already, so, it doesn't really need much doing to it, if you know what I mean. But let's say, there was some, she had maybe some spots, blah, 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 and you wanted to get rid of those. Or smooth, let's smoothen her skin, right? Smoothen her skin. Now, how I'd go around this is, right, first let me just merge these layers. You shouldn't really do this, but when you're happy with it, you can actually merge all the layers into one image, so it just makes things a lot easier. So I'm just going to merge these together. Okay, so that's all one image now. Yeah. Okay. Now what I'll do is I duplicate the background layer. Right click, duplicate, or Control J. And press OK. Right. Now I'm going to over to Filter, Blur, and I believe it is Surface Blur. Now already you've seen a big change, right? See, Surface Blur, blurs out, smooths out skin. Now I see a lot of pictures that actually overdo this. Now you do not want to overdo this. Okay, so threshold I'll put 5, radius I'll put about 2. Nah. Now, to be honest with you, I could keep that at 1.5. Do you know why? Because I've actually duplicated the layer. That's what I'm saying. Always duplicate your layers. Always make new layers, because you can have a lot more control of it. So look, that's way too much. But because I've made a new layer, see, I can just use my opacity to bring that down instead. So I'm going to start from 0, bring it up a little bit. Only a smidge. I'm going to use it at about 15%. So just a slight difference, as you can see. If I zoom in just about here, don't know if you can see it. Okay, I'll put 20%. There we go. Now when you do this, obviously it's going to do the whole image. Okay, so really I should have made a mask, which I'll go over in another tutorial, but for now I want to quickly do this. So I'm just going to erase the tool. Okay, eraser tool, make sure your hardness is on 0, so it's nice and soft. And we're just going to go over the eyes, just around the eyes, because obviously you want the detail in the eyes. So I'm going to quickly rush this. You can obviously do better than me at the moment, because I'm just rushing this for the sake of the tutorial, but I hope you'd spend more time than me on this. You have to be, as you got the brush on soft, you don't have to be too precise, because it does soften it out and it's only a minor change. Okay, maybe a little bit on there. Just anywhere with detail really you just want to sort of pick out. Okay, and obviously just want to get out here. I'm just going to rush this really, but yeah, you just want to go over all the clothing, because you don't want it on the clothing, you don't want it on the hair. Okay. Cool. Just finish that up. Fantastic, cool. Right. See that quick. And if I turn it up, you'll see exactly what I mean. See? It's just added a little bit to her face. So I'm going to bring that back down to about 20. Okay. Even that's too much. I mean, you only need about 10. Cool. Now I'm going to merge those two together just so it's all in there. Right, now last thing I'll quickly run through, right, and is, right, if you come into your column panel here, your tool panel, I'll just quickly run through what these tools are quick, really. Right, this is your selection tool, just one here, just moving, selecting. This one is your marquee tool, that's for actual selecting part of the image. So like you can select parts, you can actually move that, you can like erase inside the box or you can erase outside that box. This is your lasso tool. This is make sure deselect lasso tool. This is for like selecting but freehand. They're all just spin-offs of it. Quick selection tool, that just selects, it quickly selects, sort of an automatic selection tool. You've got your crop, which can crop stuff out. You've got your colour picker. You've got your spot healing brush removal tool. Now what that is like you can select it and then you can click on spots and it should. How that works is it takes pixels within that area, around the area, to sort of calculate where the spot is and sort of blend it in with the other pixels. So it actually does remove spots. You get your paintbrush. You've got your clone stamp. That's if you want to actually clone. So let's say I could actually take that logo away on the back. So I could clone that out. I'll quickly show you actually. Just quickly show you. I think it's quite cool. Okay. Sorry for long this out. I'm just trying to show you as much as I can, literally, in this one tutorial. You know what I mean? I don't want to make too many. You know, I'm sure you guys can follow along. So this is B. All right, I want to get rid of that. So I'm going to hold Alt until it becomes this weird, sort of weird symbol. I'm going to pick sort of somewhere, sort of that's got somewhere that's sort of the same color as around it. So here. And now what it does is it's cloning. So when I'm going here, it's all it's done is taking it from here. So I can actually colour that like that, colour that like that, colour that like that. Sometimes you have to move the clone area. There we go. See? Okay. Right. Moving on. Right. Below that is history brush. You don't really need to use that. Your eraser tool, just erasing out stuff. Your gradient tool, which is the same kind of thing we used for our gradient map, except we can use it on shapes. We can use it on all kinds of stuff. So that's pretty cool. And you get your your bucket tool there. Your blur tool. And this is what I want to go on. Is right. You get your blur. We'll go through all that smudge and all that in another tutorial. Right. I want to look at the dodge, burn, and sponge tool. Now, not so much the sponge, but I want to go over the dodge and burn tool. Now, what the dodge tool does, right? The complete opposite, basically. The dodge tool it's like a paintbrush, but it makes things lighter. So it will lighten up where you paint a little bit. You know, you can select it by your size and your exposure rate. And your burn tool is the opposite, so it darkens areas. So this is quite good for also airbrushing and color grading images. So I'll give you an example. Right, I'm just gonna sort of. Now when I do this, I'll duplicate this layer. A lot of people don't do this, but I'll duplicate it. Do you know why? Because if I make a mistake or if it's a bit too harsh, I can just turn the opacity a bit. So let's just. Oops. Now, when you're doing this, you just got to know where the dark areas you want and where the light areas you want. So, you can kind of And then the opposite is a dodge tool, so you can actually lighten areas. Right, that's really quick, and that's just sort of put smudges on it, but you can kind of get the point. I don't know what I've done there, but yeah. So, like for example, if I wanted that side of the face dark, I could actually do that side of the face dark. But that's basically what that does. It darkens areas. You know what I mean? So, like like an arm, for example, our arm burn here, just about here, more on this side. So we can darken this bit here, and brighten this bit here. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it there. Right, oh yeah, pen tool. Let me just finish this off. Right, get pen tool. What pen tool is that? It's for outlining. Yeah, I'll go through that one as well. Actually, I'll go through that one, and that'll be in the tutorial as well. Yeah, text tool, everyone knows that is, and your selection tool, you don't really need to use that. And then you get your shapes. Okay, so literally I just wanted to sort of go through sort of the real basics, just the basics of color grading. How to sort of just add a bit of depth to your images. If your image, I do them to my Facebook photos. It's really simple. You get a photo. Just might as well put a little color grade into it. You know what I mean? Makes it a little bit more professional. Something that you can use across the board. And it just makes a big difference. It just makes a big difference to your images. So like if I save that as number 2, just quickly bring up both of them so I'll show you what they both look like. So as you can see, we've made a big difference. There. So, anyways, guys, thanks for watching my tutorial. I'm gonna look to upload another one next week, and then from there I'll actually have an actual day where I'll do them. I'll try and fit them all in. But with the next tutorial, let me know if you want. Any suggestions. If you want a tutorial requested, let me know, and yeah, I'll do my best to get around that. And yeah, thanks for watching.